Development Agency. Can we have a roll call, please?
Agency members Draymond.
Here.
Najarian.
Here.
Quintero.
Here.
Weaver.
Here.
Chair Friedman.
Here. Can we have your report?
The agenda for the April 27, 2010 regular meeting of the Glendale Redevelopment Agency was posted on Thursday, April 22, 2010 on the bulletin board outside City Hall.
Thank you. What's next?
Next is approval of minutes.
So moved. Second.
Okay, the minutes stand approved. What is next, please?
Next is oral communications.
Yeah, I have one card. Mike Mohill.
All right. I won't repeat since Mike is well familiar with the rules.
Thank you, Chairman Friedman. Mike Mohill, councilperson. I'd like to talk about the entertainment district proposed. As we look into the planning of the entertainment district, I hope our planning department has decided whether we will have streets wide enough in the district to handle the additional traffic. From the planned apartments, nightclubs, theaters, cinemas, bowling, art, and other venues, perhaps closing Maryland completely and only having pedestrian traffic in the district and a trolley running down Maryland and the back alley behind the Neon Art Museum would be desirable. Closing Maryland Street to through traffic and having a trolley running through our streets will definitely make us look a great deal different than Old Town Pasadena. People love nostalgia. Just look down the street to the Americana or the Montrose Shopping Mall. People also enjoy walking rather than always having to drive in their cars. Well, will all the planned buildings along Maryland and Louise be using the common narrow alley in and out for parking, the alley area? Okay. A narrow alley can only handle so much traffic. Will there be sufficient parking and street usage for the added cars? Perhaps an additional parking structure nearby should also be planned for the district before we get too far along in our project. I'm not a gambler, but the idea of having a high-end card club will make Glendale unique among our sister cities and the region. All the middle-class cities around us have movie theaters, nightclubs, restaurants, bowling alleys, but nobody will have a card club to attract the out-of-towner visitors. I have also read where other middle-class cities either are building card clubs or thinking about it. The public enjoys gambling, playing cards, slot machines, bingo, whatever the public likes and desire. We should embrace that idea. I'm sure some same critics of the card club would be the ones who have been against building the Galleria or the Americana and having freeways cross the neighborhoods. Glendale accepted the freeways that crossed our city, and I'm sure that is why Mr. Caruso wanted to be in Glendale. Also, let us not forget the success of the Galleria and the Brand Boulevard cars were made possible by previous forward-thinking council people. Transportation is more expensive today than when Glendale was Mayberry Street. Mr. Draymond said young folks want to walk and live in the same area in which they live to cut down the expenses of traveling, etc. I have heard that there might be some legal reasons why we might not be able to have a card club in Glendale, but I suggest we find out for sure. And if not, we should challenge the law. Why should we let those dollars go shopping someplace else in some other people's coffers? We need the money too for our tax base. Pasadena years ago tore down Old Town and outdated old buildings, the mall, in the 70s, and they rebuilt the new Paseo with apartments, retail stores, and the Pacific Complex. Today, the relatively new Pacific Theater is being torn down for high-end ArcLight cinema. Again, forward-thinking on their part. Pasadena also has the new Gold Star Cinema, where I can bring my blankie with me and have food at the same time. People love it. $20 a head. But not in Glendale. Of course, there's the Lemley Theaters there, too. After the Mann Theater closes next year, Glendale will only have one movie theater in town, and that is at the Americana. In the old days, I'm sure Mr. Weaver remembers that, before the multiplex, Glendale had the Alex Theater, the Roxy Theater, the Glendale Theater, and the Capitol Theaters. We must pursue more than just one movie theater in our town. Why should we be in the shadows of Pasadena? As the third largest city in the county, We ought to act like a big city. The world knows where Pasadena and Burbank are, but few know where the Jewel City of Glendale is. Let us change our image. Let us be different. Allow free parking, please, everywhere in the new business-friendly Glendale. Pasadena charges for parking everywhere. Once the word is out that Glendale offers free parking, the crowd will start migrating back to Glendale. And those dollars you're losing in parking, you'll get back when the restaurant's revenues go up. Thank you very much for your time and consideration. I'll leave my copy here for the folks.
Thank you, Mr. Mohill. Any responses, Mr. Draymond?
Yes, ma'am. First of all, I've been staring at Mr. Lansafame because I want to remind him and also the good people in our planning department that the idea of rezoning Maryland and so on was not for an entertainment district. It was for an art and entertainment district. The word art has been consistently dropped in everything that we are printing, writing about, in all of our staff reports and so on. I'd like to see that word put back in because it relates to a broader choice of uses that we were talking about, galleries and so on. That's why the word art was in there. The other thing was I just wanted to add to the list, as I'm sure Mr. Weaver could, the Villa Glen, the Sands, the State, the Regal, and the Roxy were also other theaters, Mr. Weaver. I'm sure you know that. So.
There's a lot.
Thank you very much. What's next, please?
Under the business agenda at 6A is Director of Community Redevelopment and Housing regarding art installation program. At A1 is a resolution appropriating $83,000 to provide funds for consultant fees. At A2 is a motion approving a professional services agreement with Praxis for the storefront art installation program in an amount not to exceed $83,000.
Thank you. Who's going to be giving us the report?
That's going to be an Vartanian who prepared the report.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Agency Chair Friedman and agency members. As you remember, in February, at the agency's request, staff presented an art installation program in an effort to fill up some of the vacant storefronts in the downtown. We presented 3 different models: city managed, bid managed, and consultant managed, and the agency directed staff to pursue the consultant model. We issued the RFP, the request for proposals, in late February and received a total of 7 responses. The review committee interviewed the top 2 firms. After the interview and after further evaluation, the review committee felt that Praxis was the firm that had the most experience, creativity to address the needs of the program. Praxis has extensive experience working with municipalities in branding, event planning, and of course art installation programs. What stood out about Praxis, they understood the comprehensive approach to this program. They didn't just see it as a program to just fill up vacancies. They actually saw that this could be a temporary program that has long-lasting effects, positive effects, and can set the tone for the future of the arts and entertainment district. Another important factor was that they can integrate the art installation program with existing events that we have in the downtown and sites. After we met with Praxis, we also reviewed some of the opportunity sites in the downtown. Most of them exist on Maryland and Broadway, which is similar area for the Arts and Entertainment District. We've detailed that area as Exhibit 2 on the map. And what we wanted to achieve with this program and what Praxis understood was to reorient how visitors and residents view this area. We want them to get used to the idea of coming to this area to experience whether it's arts, entertainment, and it's not just a stagnant area with some vacancies. At this point, I would like to invite Eric Cavalli and Cletus Daglish Schomer, I hope I got that right, just to give some more information about Praxis. Staff is available to answer any questions that you have.
Thank you. Welcome. If you can please state your name for the record.
Eric Cavalli.
Okay.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Council members. Cletus and myself represent Praxis, and I'd like to say they were very excited about this opportunity We've had firsthand experience seeing how arts can be used as a catalyst to build economic development in central city areas, particularly in the downtown Los Angeles area. Simply the designation of a district as an arts district saw incredible growth seeing that happen as far as from gallery starting at 3 and then upwards until when we started working down there, there were 18 galleries in the Gallery Row area. Building investment saw it go up to 40 galleries. And that's not just permanent. You're talking about temporary. And along with that, you see a lot of things happen as far as restaurant businesses, bars, entertainment. They really go hand in hand, seeing that, how it develops. And I just want to commend the city as well as the redevelopment agency for really looking at the arts for a catalyst. Our group brings a great deal of experience soliciting artists, understanding the arts community, and working with local communities to be able to bring out the creative individuals who make up their arts community, and as well as from the outside Los Angeles, bringing in artists that have the professional expertise to come in and really create and develop spaces.
Thank you very much for having us. My name is Cletus Douglas-Schomer, and we are just very excited to have the possibility to look at the opportunities here in Glendale and to see the kind of support around. Very much appreciate the emphasis on the concept of arts as important alongside of entertainment. Because one of the things that I think that the arts do bring, and that a temporary program of exhibitions can bring, are people who not only come into the area, but come into the area precisely with the idea that they want to have their eyes opened, they want to see things that perhaps they didn't see things in a different way. And I think the fact that this project area takes place in a commercial center, and yet you're inviting people to see it with fresh eyes, I think can only be good, both for their ability to rediscover the area, but also for their ability to see what it has to offer, as opposed to simply presuming that they know ahead of time. Businesses change. Bringing in an art community that's arriving not just to carry out their tasks of the day, their purchases, but to really just explore the area, I think is one way that the city can allow people to rediscover this area, especially if it's being developed as an arts and entertainment center. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Are there any questions from any of my colleagues? I have just a few questions. The first, let me first say that I've gotten a really incredible amount of excited emails from local artists who are really interested in taking advantage of this program. Do you suggest, or do you ever in these types of programs, set aside a certain amount of space for local artists?
I think it'd be advantageous for us to encourage it. That's what we want. And I think that mix and looking at we want to look at the opportunities and find ways of reaching out to them. We do a disservice if we didn't reach out and make sure that they had the opportunity for it. And, Glendale is not devoid of arts and artists. They're here. And there's some very well-known artists, and there's a smaller community of artists who are not well-known. Mm-hmm. And it would be important for us to actually make a real effort to reach out to them and make sure that they have that opportunity. And I think it'll make it a better project. To have the artists who maybe have worked in Glendale for years and years and never been able to exhibit their work here because there wasn't a place to do that. We'd like to give them that opportunity, and I think that they will be very encouraged to do so.
Perfect. Also, I noticed in your resume that you've worked on a couple of sort of large event type exhibitions, and I'm wondering if you can talk a little bit just about some of those exhibitions that you've done and how many people you drew to the area that you had them by doing that, and also if you have any thoughts yet for events you could do in Glendale or exhibitions that would tie into events that we have already established.
3 of the events that we've worked on. We worked in assisting the marketing efforts for the Glow Festival for the City of Santa Monica. The LA Arboretum wanted to create a program to bring in new audiences, and we helped them develop their Terabyte program, as well as programs at the Barnsdall Art Center for the City of Los Angeles, bring new audiences there. By far, and very much with kind of the exciting coming together of support for the one-night art event Glow in Santa Monica, that drew the most people imaginable. The number initially was projected at a hopeful audience of 50,000, And once the word got out that something very interesting and unique was happening there, they estimated about 200,000 visitors came into the area just for that one event. The Terabyte event drew probably around 800 to 1,000 people coming all the way out to the Arboretum for an unfamiliar event. And we brought several hundred people to a series of events at at Barnstall. I think that the event component within art, well, we're looking at these storefronts, but really if there's a way that we can create kind of complementary events that will bring people in and allow them to explore these, but also really experience that energy that's created, that's something we'd be very interested in doing. In each case, in working on art event projects, one thing that's very important is to allow it to have a character. And that character comes out of the community, it comes out of the situation. So one of the things we'd be very interested in working with Glendale is just what are some of the opportunities, what are some of the ways in which this can complement either existing events, time and space, perhaps particular interest or support that creates, the opportunity where someone says, okay, this is available if we can work with this, and that would then make it very much a Glendale event. I don't think that there's any reason to imagine something generic. It should be something that comes out of the community and allows people to say, oh, that, you have to go to Glendale for that.
Any other questions? Mr. Najarian?
Thank you. Thank you for your application. I had a meeting today with some artists, and they've got a nonprofit. Their goal is to develop and encourage arts from youth on up. And I'm not sure if they had heard about our storefront concept yet, but essentially what they were asking for is something a little bit larger than the actual storefront. They came to me and said, do I know of any vacant land or vacant space downtown where they could actually have the artists create their art and then display it concurrently with their creation. Is that something that you could help them with, sort of getting beyond the storefront, perhaps back to some of the other space, and how, in your experience, how amenable have some of the landlords been towards giving you more than just the first 4 or 5 feet of storefront and invite artists, obviously on a temporary basis, to lay up their canvas and their palettes and start their work?
We've definitely had that conversation. We've talked about how to utilize the space because, a gallery, if we do an art walk, that's one night. And the idea is how do you make this more of a usable space? And you can't have a situation where you have a gallery, it becomes a gallery to the point where you actually have someone there on hand every day for people to come in. And so you have to be very strategic about creating events and things that bring people and bring artists together. And we talked about artist discussions happening in those events concurrent with the exhibitions. I definitely think it would be worthwhile to have artists creating work potentially. I do think it should be professional artists is something I wanted to mention. It's just because that's really sort of the goal here is to bring local professional and Los Angeles and really being professional artists in here. And I think it's definitely in the conversation as far as what we're discussing to really sort of enliven those spaces beyond just putting the works on the wall and have someone walk around. They would like them to really take them over.
And I would just like to say that, this project being kind of initiated within the bounds of redevelopment is something that I would hope would be a kind of a catalyst. One of the things that's exciting is that there is this separate, larger momentum towards bringing the idea of arts and entertainment to this district. So I would be very interested, I think nonprofit art groups, which Eric and I have both served on, I think do really fantastic work and are usually driven by a kind of a passion and enthusiasm that is, a real gem if you can, connect to it. So I see this project as hopefully being a kind of catalyst. I'd love to have the contact information for this group for artists in the area, because when the best thing we can do is get the word out to people who are interested and excited, because that becomes exactly this kind of energy that you want to say, yeah, okay, this can happen. And having, being able to turn around and speak to property owners and say, the city actually is really encouraging this. So you really, this is a direction that things are going. It's only good for you if it succeeds.
Thank you. Mr. Draymond.
Well, I want to touch on a couple of things that agency member Najarian was mentioning, but I also want to sort of remind all of us that what we're voting on today, or what we're looking at today with regard to this $83,000, just to clarify, this is not for creation of public events, street events, I assume. This is related to this program, specific program of storefronts, just so we don't confuse anybody looking in to say that that's what this is about. First, I want to commend you, Chairman Friedman, for bringing the concept of temporary galleries and storefront galleries to this city, because we wouldn't be having this discussion otherwise. That's just for starters. And to get back to the issue that Mr. Najarian was raising, the issue of not just gallery space but studio space. In other words, space where artists can create their work as well as exhibit it. And the problem with that, with temporary space, in my experience over various lives and careers, is that the temporary space, you're working with private property owners who are in between tenants. And so the gallery space isn't quite as problematic because that's exhibit space. The studio space is where it becomes more problematic because many artists are looking to establish themselves in a particular place, locale, and they're actually creating the work there in the studio space. So that becomes a little more problematic, which is why, and bringing this full circle, Mr. Lansafame, which is why we so drastically need this civic gallery down in the Arts and Entertainment District. I don't know whether these gentlemen understand what that is we're working on, but I'm hoping that you can elaborate in a moment here. Because by having a civic gallery there that is available to not just local artists, but professional artists on a more regional sense, we can provide perhaps gallery and studio space, and the fact that it would be something that could be state of the art in terms of the environmental aspect of it, so that we can also begin to bring traveling exhibits to the city as well, and not just simply create space for local artists to work and exhibit their work, but also begin to generate some excitement amongst our residents. Say Glendale's a place that you can go as a destination to exhibit fine art from other regions and other states and museum collections. So, Phil, can you kind of elaborate on that?
Actually, before you do, I just want to find out if there's any other questions for these gentlemen so that they can sit down. Not right now, but stick around. There may be some more. And I'll go then to Mr. Lansafame, and then to the public. I have one card, and then back to the dais for comments. Thank you.
Ms. Chair, members of the agency, the question asks about a civic gallery. The redevelopment agency owns some storefronts on Maryland Avenue in the Exchange, and you asked staff to take a look at could those be converted to gallery space, such as Mr. Draymond had suggested. And we are doing that now. We're trying to put together a complete picture of the information for you, the opportunities and challenges that we might have, so that you all can make an informed decision about it. But we should have that report ready for you in about, I want to say, a month, if not sooner.
Excellent.
Back to you in a month, if not sooner.
Okay. Thank you. I'm going to go to the public. Mike Mohill.
Thank you, Chairman Friedman. Mike Mohill, longtime resident. $83,000. The lady from the planning department, Annette Fortanian, you're the planning department, correct, ma'am?
No.
Which department?
Redevelopment.
Community redevelopment and housing.
I'm sorry. Okay. I'd like to know how many people are there in the either redevelopment agency or in the planning department that could do this job. Why do we need to go out and spend $83,000? I'll do the job for free, among the other jobs I've offered here in the city. Treasurer,
Falling for him right now.
backflow manager, art installation. I'll do it all. $83,000. Why do we need to spend the money? We can fix and put more money into the parks, the libraries. Please, does it take that sophistication that we need to go out and hire somebody? There's people in the city that can do this job. Councilman Draymond is an artist, background. Mrs. Friedman is same thing. Part-time job. Why not? Save the city $83,000. You know, how much work is there? You know, Mr. McFall said that the planning department didn't have that much work just a few minutes ago. Right, Mr. McFall? You said there are no permits, therefore they don't have that much work doing. Am I misunderstanding that implication?
Yes.
Okay, I'll take that comment back then. But here we have a lot of people in the city of Glendale, because of the recession, I'm sure they're just sitting around. I'm sorry. We haven't laid off that many people. I haven't read about it in the paper. So there's a lot, you know, in the private industry, work creates work. So why don't we have our city staff do this project? If it's only valued at $83,000, according to this report, let the city do it. You know, or it's going to be the old game as well. We hired an outside consultant because it didn't work. We can blame them, and it's not our fault as city folks. Is that we can play that game? $83,000 could be used for the parks, for the libraries. Extend the hours. I know where I live, Glen Oaks Canyon. In the summer, the wading pool is closed because the city doesn't have any money. Costs $100 an hour for the kids to play. We don't have the money. Here's $83,000. The pool can be open 8 times. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Lanzafane, so what do we get for $83,000 that a city employee couldn't do?
To answer your question specifically, you get the expertise of somebody that can curate art and install it and coordinate that. There is a level of expertise just in dealing with the art field that I can tell you I don't have. And I don't know that anybody on the staff has that level of expertise to do that.
So Praxis, they install the art as well. They clean the storefront, correct?
I'm going to ask
And do they
Annette
provide
to talk
insurance
about the
under their
scope.
company?
Best way to describe it is they offer a turnkey service that I don't think as staff that we can handle. They're going to be working on this program not exclusively, but they will offer the insurance, coordinate with the property owners, curate the art, plan the events, handle the marketing, send out the emails, postcards. I mean, they will handle all aspects of this. So to say that this is a turnkey operation, it is. They are able to handle all the services for us that we can't do at a staff level.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Draymond.
Well, that was the short answer, Mr. Mohill. But there's a larger answer to it as well, and I want to come to that because I think you raise a good point. And what I'm going to say is not to pick on you. I think it's a very reasonable question. It's one that we've heard in the city of Glendale for over 100 years. Why are we spending money on art? We have roads to build. We have buildings to build. We have stuff to develop. I know you didn't. I'm saying in this city, that's been our city tradition for over a century. You want to know the basic difference between Pasadena and Glendale in our histories? Side by side is an interest in developing cultural venues, in developing the arts, using the arts to drive development in our city as well. I mean economic development. And as a native of this city, I've watched this for years. The theme has always been Why are we spending $5,000, $10,000, $100,000, $1 million? I'll just give you a simpler version of this answer, Mr. Mohill. And I don't mean to offend anybody, but we don't have the expertise to do this. It's not as simple as you say. I know it sounds that way, but it's not as simple as that. It's not as simple as the agency turning to Mr. Lanzafame and saying, Mr. Lanzafame, go create a temporary storefront art program for the city of Glendale. For 102, 106 years, this city's been running the opposite direction. That is not where our expertise lies right now. And so we do have to look at people who do have the expertise. These things that Annette mentions are no small things. Curating the art, jurying the art, seeing to the installation of the art, working with the property owners, that is not easy to do. And it does require some expertise. And I admire your willingness to step up and volunteer, along with, you wear a lot of hats, Mr. Mohill. You've volunteered to be our city treasurer and a whole bunch of things. But So I welcome this program, and I think it's exactly the tool that we need to, again, continue the theme that I think this council and this agency has had the wisdom to pursue. And that is a break with our past tradition of saying that the arts are somehow disconnected from the other priorities of the city, which have primarily been real estate and retail, and say that the arts can be a development tool, an economic development tool. And if you've listened to what these gentlemen were saying, it's not just about creating art for art's sake. It also has been successful because it partners the arts with the businesses in the downtown core. And that is the importance of this, and that's the beauty of this. So anyway, I just wanted to get that comment. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Weaver.
After Mr. Lanzafame.
Ms. Chair, I was just going to add, in making the decision to promote arts, you have identified, or staff has identified for you, a funding source to do this and accomplish this, as well as accomplishing a fundamental redevelopment goal. That is to prevent blight and eliminate blight, and to alleviate those conditions that will lead to blight, vacant storefronts. The funds that we're using for this are appropriate in these storefronts in our downtown. They are restricted, though, and we could not use them to fund some of the other programs, to pay for a police officer, to extend the library hours. We simply are prohibited by law from doing that. So while you've made the decision to promote arts and use it as an economic development tool, you have also identified a funding source that is appropriate for it, that can't be used for other things.
Excellent point. Thank you. Mr. Weaver.
Yeah, I'm trying to understand this myself a little. This is $83,000 for 12 months. Then what happens? Contract's up. Where are we then?
We could continue the program, or if it is not useful, we could discontinue the program.
Okay, so we will be making a judgment call during the course of the next 12 months to see if it works. If it does, then we will have a continuing $80-some thousand budget to keep the arts going, or something like that.
If that is the agency's decision, yes, we could do that.
Okay. I belong to the Glendale Arts Association, now it's about 30 years ago. We met in the bottom of the old Glendale Federal Building. We couldn't find storefronts, any landowners that would allow us to go in those storefronts. There were vacant ones around, but we couldn't get one. So we stayed in a basement, and these were the artists of Glendale. I'm an artist too, and that's where we had to show our works. I don't know what success is going to be or what the landlords are going to charge. As has been said, it's temporary. Second, he gets a full-time client, you're out. So I'm wondering how well it'll work. Also, I heard about events. You know, we have 2 downtown events, Dash and Cruise Night. But any event coming in is going to be down on brand. It's going to start costing a lot of money because you're going to now be blocking streets maybe and bringing police force in and others. I don't know. I don't know what you're talking in terms of event. I'm not into your field. And I do believe you need somebody that does it for a living. Staff doesn't have that capability to do it. And it is appropriate use of redevelopment money. It's got to be used downtown. Can't pay for police, so on with it. So I'll go along with it, but I'm trying to figure out the value of $83,000 that we're going to get. I hope it works. I guess we'll know in the next 12 months. It either will or it won't. And we'll come back here in late April next year and talk about it again. Thank you.
Mr. Draymond.
I'm sorry, you started talking about the arts, and I
Quite all right.
find out I was vaccinated with a phonograph needle. Mr. Weaver, I am very happy we're going to do this. We could turn the clock back, we could have thrown the doors open in the basement and let you out. But
Didn't work at all. I got out. I'm here.
okay.
But it was very difficult.
But I also want to come back to, I just don't want us to forget, Unity Fest is another event that we do downtown that would lend itself very nicely to incorporating the arts and the arts of artistic styles of people and cultures from all over. And I just wanted to go back to Mr. Mohill one more second, because he was talking earlier about thinking more broadly in terms of how we promote our city and how we develop our city, and this is one of those ways. And I think this is a very, pardon the expression, conservative way to do this. Because, and my colleagues up here know that I keep using this phrase about baby steps, when we're talking about the arts. In my view, Glendale doesn't have room for too many errors. We don't have a reputation as being a tremendous player on the scene in terms of public art. And so I think we need to do this carefully and professionally and do it well. And to me, this is exactly the kind of step we should be taking next. And again, I want to praise my colleagues for moving this direction. I never in a million years thought I'd be sitting on Glendale City Council at a time when we would actually be looking at the arts to develop a sense of art and culture in our city, to promote that, and to use it as a development tool to also drive economic development, and as Mr. Lansfane says, to not just one of the fundamental purposes of redevelopment, probably the fundamental purpose of redevelopment, which is to eliminate blight. So.
Any other?
Yes, I'm very happy we've gotten through the RFP process and the firm has been chosen, and I think the background certainly merits you guys getting involved in the city of Glendale. I hope the staff gives them plenty of support, including contacting some of the commercial agents here in town and the local artists, but I'm very excited about it. I think it's a very good idea. And I think the property owners are going to react in a positive way. It certainly will illuminate their locations and make it a focus rather than just having a closed storefront. So I'm very excited about it, and I hope we get going quickly. Summer is almost here, so we absolutely need to get some things in place, but I think it's a very, very good idea.
Najarian.
Thank you for the discussion. What I would like to do would be to hear back in 60 days, once the contract has been awarded, to see how the progress is going. And I thought that perhaps a difficult part would be to obtain the store permission of the landlords for the storefronts. However, as I think about it, I don't think there's any requirement that there be a vacant storefront. I mean, there may be lobbies of office buildings that are currently, very vibrant and ongoing, that artwork may be placed. So give us, if you could come back in 60 days and let us know how you're doing, and if you need some help from the agency to encourage placement or any issues that come up, we're happy to use our connections to further the goals here. So.
Thank you. It's an excellent idea. But yes, it's my turn for comments. I'm thrilled to see this project come in. As was said before, we can't forget that the basic purpose of a redevelopment agency is to eliminate blight. And this, assuming that we can get the buy-in from the owners of the vacant buildings, which, given what's happened in other cities and seeing this project in Long Beach and in downtown LA, once one of them starts and they see how successful it is and how a building that instead just looking sad and empty all of a sudden is lit up, and you can see the for rent sign and you can see the space inside. Long Beach, I'm told they have more applicants for the program than they have resources to put the art in the windows, so hopefully we'll follow suit. So it does eliminate blight because it stops the blight of having a vacant, empty, dark window next to a business. It feeds into economic development for that reason. And most importantly, it does help encourage and show a real commitment in Glendale for the arts and for our local artists. And I really believe, and I think that sentiment is shared on this dais by pretty much everyone, or by all of us, that you cannot be a world-class city if as a city you don't have a real and ongoing commitment to the arts. And this is just one small way that we can start that ball rolling. And I'm really thrilled to see it. Two things that I would like. Number one is I have had, as I said, about 8 inquiries from local artists who want to take part in this. I think we need to have a very visible link on the city website to where people can apply online, so they don't have to come through a council member, that they know exactly how to get their application into to the program, and also through Glendale Arts, because those are the 2 most likely places that local artists will look to find out more information. So as soon as we can get, as quickly as we can get an application form and information up on the city website live, the happier I'll be, because I think I'll stop getting so many of these emails from artists. I absolutely agree that we need to see sooner rather than later kind of an action plan and the locations you've identified, buy-ins that you've gotten or commitments you've gotten from property owners, and any events you want to tie into. And also, I think we need to be sure that they have the resources they need from the city, that they have point of contacts at the city who can help them through the process, and connecting them with Glendale Arts and all of the other arts nonprofits that we have, so that they don't have to go and do that legwork for themselves. So I want to thank staff for their diligence and the speed that they were able to get this together, for vetting all of the different companies. And I'm really happy to see you coming here. So thank you very much, and I'm sure this is the beginning of a long and beautiful friendship. Mr.
I just wanted to add, and well, I don't know how to put it, but I hope we get some quality art. I mean, let's hope that especially the first few that are sort of going to be demonstration projects, so to speak. I hope there's something special that the news press will report on, and there'll be a buzz to. So in our haste to get something done, I would hate to just have it be a somewhat mediocre sort of show. That's it. I'm ready to move the item.
Okay. I have a motion. Yes, Mr. Jones.
The map that is in the report, it's the next to last page on the report, and it says the art installation focus area, and it is Brand Boulevard and Maryland, basically from Caruso all the way up to, I don't know, just north of, looks like just north of Wilson, I guess, approximately where, just north of the Alex Theater. And that is the area we are going to focus on, at least. I mean, I'm assuming that is, come talk to me about that. Just.
We went through just to look at the vacancies or opportunity
Right.
sites, as I like to call them. A lot of the ones on North Brand turn over very, very quickly, and a lot of the longer-term vacancies exist in this area, and that's why we identify this area. It seems that the market just naturally lends itself to these these smaller vacancies to be turned over very quickly. So this is where we saw the longer standing vacancies, and so we will focus on this area, and we can expand it to North Brand as there are vacancies.
Well, my question then is, and I'm very happy about this focus area, by the way, and one of the reasons is that the area that we've identified as an art and entertainment district falls smack in the middle of it. But as we all know, Brand Boulevard is sort of the main drag. Do we anticipate that there's going to be some effort put into directing the public to what we're doing, say, on Maryland? Because that's also, I mean, in other words, it's not a street that everybody at this point walks along or even drives along. So we have an incredible collection of empty storefronts there. So I assume there's some thought has been given as to how to let the public know or to promote access to that
Definitely,
area.
I believe that Praxis will be able to brand the area and to market it properly. And just to add, there are vacancies along Broadway that cross Brand Boulevard, right on the corner of Brand and Broadway at City Center. There are some ground floor vacancies, so it connects Brand Boulevard and Maryland through Broadway. So there will be that natural transition through Brand.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we have a motion. Do I have a second?
Yes, second.
Okay, we have a motion and second. Can we have a roll call?
Agency members Draymond,
Yes.
Najarian,
Yes.
Quintero,
Yes.
Weaver,
Aye.
Chair Friedman.
Yes. Thank you. You all. What's next, please?
Any agency member or staff comments?
I do have a comment, which is this morning, Mayor Najarian and myself attended, with members of the public, attended the first inaugural trip of the new Americana trolley. And this is a free circulator trolley that runs from 11 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. up and down Brand. And it goes all the way from the Americana up above the 134 to Nestle and to the Nestle headquarter building, and then back down. And it's going to be free, so anybody can ride it. It's marked all along Brand where it makes its stops. I think it stops maybe 6 times, maybe 8 times up and down Brand. I hope that the public comes out and uses it. If you ask at the concierge desk at the Americana, you get a special card, and if you ride the trolley, I think it's 6 times, you get a $10 off coupon for any business at the Americana, which is very nice. And it will get you from an office building to the Americana or any restaurant or any location on Brand quickly, conveniently. They're about 10 minutes spaced apart. And what I think is wonderful is because it does go above the 134, for all of the people who live in that neighborhood in Northwest Glendale can walk to a trolley stop and be taken down Brand to any location, the Alex Theater, to look at public art, to go to the Americana, the Galleria, for free. So I hope everyone comes out and uses it, and I want to thank Caruso Affiliated for providing this to the city. Okay, if there's no other comments, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
We are adjourned. Thank you.